Let me share my screen. Mauliksha, can you, all of you, can you just mute your mic? Mute your microphone. Okay. So I guess you can see my screen now, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. 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 So what we were discussing in the previous class and also the video that I have shared are some concepts to explore that how we can more quantitative in a more quantitative way we can figure out the stability of one fixed point in a dynamics. So by now we know that by dynamics or dynamical equations, we mean these equations which look like first order equations which look like x dot equal to a function of x. In general, we are calling that as fx. And we are trying to figure out ways to understand what happens to the dynamics depending on different initial conditions. And we also understood that sometimes the solution of the equation does not give us much insight. We learned the graphical method, then we learned the potentials also, where we saw that we can draw a hill and valley kind of a picture that gives us a clear notion of which points are going to be stable. That is, if you start from a nearby point, you are supposed to end up at those points, and which points are supposed to be unstable, though fixed points, because if you sit there, you will sit there forever. But if you start from a nearby point, you are supposed to drop down to the nearest fixed point, which is stable. So after that, we discussed linear stability analysis. We also solved these problems during our last class. And you figured these problems out, how to draw the potential of these equations and how to figure out which fixed point of dynamics is stable or unstable. So then we discussed linear stability, and if you have went through the video, you know by now that it simply means that in one variable system it even becomes much easier. We are yet to discuss that how it will change its form when we move from one variable to multivariable systems, where maybe x, y, z, three variables would be there, and we will study equations where x dot, y dot, z dot, all three of them will be specified, and they will be coupled with each other. So we haven't discussed linear stability for those kind of systems, but for single variable system where I had just have one equation, we saw that kind of the bottom line of the derivation that we discussed in the last class was this, that if you have an equation which looks like dx dt equal to fx, okay, so dx dt could be sine x like the example that we have seen before, or minus x or x minus x cube, whatever. So whatever that function is, if that is fx, then you figure out what is x star, that is the fixed point, equating that to 0. Then you take a derivative of that function with respect to x at that point, and then plug in the value of x star. If that is greater than 0, then we saw that the solution will become unstable, as the perturbation from that point eta t will grow exponentially, and it will decay if the perturbation will decay if f prime x star is less than 0. So the bottom line was this, the derivation was insightful. So I will ask you, if you haven't seen the video yet, go and see it. But the basic rule, the thumb rule of this method is that if you have an equation, say this one, we know this equation, right? We solved it in our very first class. So dx dt equal to sine x, right? When we learned about graphical analysis, we solved it. We saw that if I draw this in graphical method, we drew this points where the points where x dot, the function, is 0. So these were the fixed point, and we determined from the graphical method. So using this method, if I want to pursue, then whatever is lying on the other side of the equal to sign, you consider that as your fx. Okay, you consider that as your fx, and then you take you do two things. First, you take derivative of it, and then you equate this to 0 and figure out that which points are the fixed point, call those points x star, and plug in that value of x star in this fx prime that you have figured out. Okay, so plug in the value of x star in this equation, in this form, and see if it is a greater than 0 or less than 0. So greater than 0 gives you exponentially growing fluctuations. That means it cannot be a stable fixed point, while less than 0 gives you a decaying fluctuation, which means that you have a stable fixed point. So in this system, we have already performed using graphical methods. So this kind of a benchmark we can use this method to check if this method works or not. Okay, so let us just quickly draw your pen and paper and try to solve this problem following the linear stability method. So do this exercise of figuring out what f prime x is and plugging in the x star value, and tell me if you are getting a similar kind of results. So can you do that for me?
Yes.
Yeah. So try to solve this. So if I just equate sin x equal to 0, what will be my fixed points? X star? N pi, right? N pi. Okay, very good. Now my next job is to figure out what is f prime x. So what is the derivative of sin x? Cos x, right?
Cos x, yeah.
Now cos x's value, cos x's value, I have to see that if I put in this n pi, what do I get? So do I get greater than 1 or less than 1? Greater than 0 or less than 0? Sorry. So what do you see? Remember your quadrants? For 0?
For 0, it's 1 greater than 1.
Greater than 0,
greater
right?
Than 0,
greater than 0, that means it's an unstable. Yes, it matches, right? It was unstable in our previous one also. So what about pi? Let us check for pi.
Minus 1 negative.
So it goes the other way. This is also right. Okay. So this way you can check that for all the points, check for the other points as well, minus pi and minus 2 pi. Basically, you can check in general for if it is n pi, then n equal to even and n equal to odd, and you will figure it out directly because we know our quadrants, right? So alternatively, cos will once become positive and once become negative, and it will go on either side of 0, right? So if I need to proceed, then the solution would look something like this. So these are the steps that we need to follow. So this is kind of again the recipe. So first step, figure out what your fx is, equate that to 0. Second step, figure out what is your x star. Third step, you figure out what is the derivative of fx at this point x star. So if k is equal to even or k is equal to odd for a solution of x star equal to k pi, we straight ahead get the solution that we achieved through graphical method, that alternatively we will have stable and unstable fixed points. So is this idea clear to everybody, the method, or is there any confusion regarding linear stability?
No, ma'am.
Fine. Okay. So let us move on now. I guess now we are ready to actually look at a problem which is more physically understandable in nature. So till now, all these equations that we have considered, right, dx dt is equal to some arbitrary function we considered. Sometimes we considered minus x, sin x, x minus x cube, and there was no origin as such for these functions, right? So the next problem that we are going to pursue is basically, it has a very close link with a physical system, and you can relate it to the parameters. Now this is very important because the entire study of this is the course that you are having right now is to relate your tools, the tools that we are learning, like fixed point, stability analysis, interpreting them to some physical system. So our goal will always be to choose a problem from the domain of physics or from some other domain as well, which we can interpret in terms of some simple time evolution equations. And then we want to look at them and figure out that what happens to this system in long term, right? So even for, I guess all of you are familiar that right now all around the world people were doing their research to predict what happens to corona spread and how the disease was spreading, how can we flatten the curve, right? These words were
Yeah,
very
yeah, ma'am.
familiar. Yeah. These words
Ma'am,
were
I
very
have
familiar.
seen your
Hmm.
ma'am. I have seen your paper that published on Nature
Yeah,
Reports
yeah.
on
So not
epidemics.
not yeah, not only mine. There are several people who are working on this, and basically this is a kind of a standard method, right? So you can see in all important journals these papers are coming out, and if you look at heart of it, these problems are basically these problems that you are solving right now. The only difference is there we have more than one equation, 2 or 3 equations. You will learn that in within the scope of this course only we will learn about that. So the most important part, if I want to motivate among you is that to relate us dynamics that you are seeing to some variable and some parameters. Okay, so the next problem that we are going to do is something like that. So this would be our first problem, so to say, which is related to the physical world directly. So suppose the question is something like this, that using linear stability analysis, understand the dynamics of the following system or interpret the dynamics of the following system. Okay. So this is a very famous set of equation from population dynamics. So this is basically applicable to bacteria growing in a petri dish, and we humans growing on this surface of this beautiful planet of ours, or fishes going inside pond and anything. This is like a population model. Wherever you see that how a population grows, this is kind of the equation. And interestingly, you can see the first equation that we have here, dp dt. Let me just make you understand what does this mean. Okay, so suppose I have p number of fishes or p number of bacteria present in a petri dish, or p number of fishes present inside a pond. Okay, and you are giving them enough food and enough place to grow. There is no restriction in terms of food or space. Then what will happen? The number will continuously increase, right? So bacteria will, from 1 it will become 2, 2 it will become 4, and like that it will go on becoming an exponential increase. So this is kind of exactly like radioactivity, where you have instead of a negative sign in case of radioactive decay, here you have a positive sign because it is growing exponentially. So if I need to understand that how this number p of the fishes lying in a pond is changing with time, then in a very crude way, I can say that it basically is proportional to the number of fishes present at this particular time instant. So if I asked you that at t is equal to 1, there were 10 fishes present in the pond, then the rate of change of the number in the next time step should be proportional to the number present there, isn't it? Same goes for the people present on Earth, right? Number of people present on the Earth or the number of bacteria present on a petri dish, their numbers are dependent on the next time step. Whatever the value will be is dependent on how many of them are present there right now, right? So in a very crude way, this is the simplest equation that tells you that how population grows in a closed system, where you have the most important constraint here is that you have no constraint. You have no limitation of food or limitation of space, which is basically a very important physical parameter that exists everywhere. There is always a scarcity of food if the number of people are more, and number of the amount of space also is a very important factor. So we are not taking those into account. Then we have an equation like this. Okay, so this is also called Malthusian growth law. You can have a look. Like it tells you basically that in our world, to be a little bit more philosophical, because he was a philosopher, and what he said that the resources, the food or whatever we can consider, that grows linearly with time. On the other hand, the population that we have, that is exponential in time. So this point that we have here is called Malthusian catastrophe, where below that you have enough resources for everyone, and above that you have scarcity. So this actually tells you that the way, the direction in which our planet is heading. So this is kind of a general philosophy if there is no restriction. But if you put those restrictions in the system, then we have a very famous equation which is called logistic growth equation. So let us understand that what does this mean, this equation mean. Okay. So the first equation is clear, the exponential part is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let us move on to the second equation, which is the logistic growth equation. It tells you that this you can see a fractional term sitting here where you have m in the bottom. Okay. So this m is it's called a carrying capacity for this system. So carrying capacity, as the name suggests, it basically means that how much the system can carry, how much people the system can carry, or how many fishes can actually stay inside that pond. Okay, is there enough space for everyone? Is there enough food for everyone? So that particular number is denoted by this m. That is the carrying capacity of the system. So if you go beyond this value of m, then what you have is this entire thing becomes negative, right? So p by m is basically a ratio, and if p is equal to m, then you have 1, so the entire thing exactly stops. But if you go beyond m, then what you have is kind of an exponential decay. Okay, so let us consider this equation, the equation of logistic growth, and try to figure out that what are the futures if we have an equation like this. What could be the futures that we can have? What could be the fixed points of the dynamics? So the same. Now we understand our system. We have interpreted our system. The problems that come in front of us are basically the philosophical problem or the problem description that I have just mentioned. So your job as a computer, a person working in this field would be to first figure out these equations, and also to interpret these parameters. What does m means? What does r means? These are the notions that we need to develop among ourselves. And the next job is simply mathematical, what we are doing till now. So if we have an equation like this, let me just clear it a little bit so that you can see. Yes. So if this is the equation that we have, that how the population is changing, can we figure out that what are the stable points or unstable points of this dynamics using the same method of linear stability? So if I ask you this question, you need to follow the same steps basically that we have learned in the previous slide, right? So first, figure out what is your fx. Second, figure out what is your x star. Third, figure out is this stable or unstable. Figuring out f prime x star. So let us just do this problem. Okay. So can you solve that for me? Try
p is equal to 0 and p is equal to m are the fixed ones.
Are the two solutions, right?
Yeah.
Everyone got that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
Now
ma'am.
tell me about the stability. Now we have to talk about the stability.
Yeah, 0 is unstable and the m is stable one.
Okay. So what we have here is that everyone got that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if we have our solutions now, then can we interpret the solution? This is the next task that we have, right? So if we have our solutions with us now, let us try and interpret the solutions that we have. So the logistic equation tells us that there could be two solutions to this equation. And we see that one of the solutions is stable and one of the solution is unstable. So what does these two solutions mean? What do you think? Can we interpret this result that we have?
Ma'am, K looks like a threshold kind of.
Very good. Very good, right? K looks like a threshold, right? So K is kind of like a cutoff point that you cannot go beyond this. If you go beyond this, then something catastrophic is going to happen.
Can you please explain what is the R here? What is
R of the equation?
Yes, the RP1 minus R.
Okay,
here,
okay. So the equation was this. Can you see my notebook now?
Yes.
So the equation was something like this, right? So here the variable is P and we have two parameters. One is R, one is M. R is the rate of growth. Okay. So R is the rate in which if you have P people, then what is the rate of increase of that P in the next time step? So R is the growth rate and M is the carrying capacity. Okay. So M is called carrying capacity and R is called growth rate. Okay. So now if I discuss about the solutions, then we have two solutions. One is that P star, that is the stable point. One stable point we got as 0, right? And 0 was unstable. All of you got that 0 is unstable, right? Similarly, P star equal to K was a stable point, right? So what does this result mean? If I look at this first solution, P star is equal to 0. That is an unstable solution because if you don't have any bacteria on a petri dish, or if you don't have any fish in a pond, then you are going to sit there forever, right? No way you are going to get a bacteria on a petri dish where you didn't have any bacteria to start with, right? So this is definitely a fixed point. But if you perturb it a little bit, if you add just one fish or one bacteria in the system, right, it starts growing. So that is why it's an unstable fixed point. Do you understand the interpretation that why it's an unstable fixed point? Because as soon as you start adding one or two bacteria on a petri dish, it starts growing obeying this equation. There is no way to go back to that solution once again, right? So that is why it's an unstable solution. On the other hand, if you look at the N is equal to K solution, that is kind of a very stable solution for this reason. And to understand that, we need to consider that what will happen if, sorry, I am writing K, this is M, okay? So in many times actually this M variable that we took, it is many times referred with a digit of alphabet of K as well, because it is kind of very related with the model that was first proposed. There they used K as the carrying capacity. Okay, so if we look at the stable fixed point K that we have, that is P star is equal to M, you have to consider that what happens if I go beyond that value. So if we go beyond a value which is greater than M, then this ratio that we have here, this ratio becomes more, right? And this entire quantity becomes negative. As soon as it becomes negative, the rate of change becomes like a fall. Instead of an exponential growth, you will have an exponential decay and you will fall down on this fixed point. So if we consider the dynamics of the system starting from different starting points, different initial points, different values of P star from which we can begin our experiment. So let us consider that we are carrying out an experiment where we have different number of these bacteria to start with, and we are looking at the value that where it will go down. So suppose consider that this is 0, okay, and we are seeing that this is K or M in our case, okay, M, okay. So we are going to see that how the number will increase. So what we will see is that to begin with, if you are sitting here, you are sitting here, that is an unstable point. If you move a little bit from here, you start growing exponentially first, and then the curve turns and becomes like a sigmoid and asymptotically touches the graph or the line of m is equal to m. Okay. Similarly, if you start from a higher value, there also it starts like an exponential growth, and then it asymptotically meets and saturates at the value of m. Similarly, on the other side, if you increase the this p beyond a certain value, let us start from here. So this is my p-axis, okay, and we're looking at it over time. So what happens is, if you start somewhere from here, then the entire quantity is already negative. So you start from here and you drop down exponentially onto this. You start from here, you end up here. So these lines that I am drawing, they look like the feed lines that we have seen in our magnetism or electrostatics, right? And these are basically called the lines of the potential that we consider the force. If we consider the function as a force, then these are the feed lines of that force that drives the system towards a particular fixed point or moves it away from a particular fixed point. So these are my flow lines. So from starting from any point, you can draw that which way the system will evolve, which time. Okay. So is this picture that we have discussed and the entire idea of logistic growth clear to you all?
Yes,
if you have any doubts. So if you are comfortable with it and you understood it and you don't have any doubt, I am giving you a small home task to consider, and I will ask you to tell me that how you got your results. Okay. So let us consider that this equation is quite same. I am doing like a experiment where I have a pond, and inside the pond I have some fishes. Okay, and I am first they had infinite amount of space, then we added a restriction of space and food. In the third case, what we add is a harvesting. So suppose after a certain time, like in every 7 days, you catch some fishes and you sell them in the market. Okay, so at a constant rate, you are trying to harvest the fishes. You are catching the fishes and selling them to the market. How will you think the equation will change? And what will be the solution of that equation? Is the question clear?
No, ma'am, please explain a little further.
So this is the population growth part that we have already considered, right? But we haven't considered any decay yet, right? So we are first considering that it is just an exponential growth where there was enough amount of food and space available. Next, we considered a restriction called carrying capacity, and we said that no, it cannot happen that infinite amount of food is available. There would be a limit to that point. So this actually tells you that how many of the fishes or bacteria can live comfortably in that place what you have found for them. So this is the number, the capacity of the system, the limiting number, the threshold, as some of you have mentioned, up to which it is okay, up to which the system sustains the number. Then it starts degrading once again, right? If you go beyond it, the death rate will dominate. People will, fishes will die because they are not getting food, and you will fall up to the number will follow the value of carrying capacity once again. But this is okay. This is the growth and the food limitation. But if I consider an external factor that I am catching some fishes from this pond, say in every 7 days, then how will I incorporate that term in this equation? Any crazy idea about that? Do you have any? Can you just suggest anything that how do you think the equation will change?
No, we will try. We will try.
Hmm?
We will try, ma'am.
Sorry, your voice is breaking.
Ma'am, we will try.
So,
Ma'am, minus of some dp dt, some kind of that, some constant time dp dt minus.
some minus term, that is a good thing to start. A constant, that is also a nice thing to say. But why dpdt do you think? Dpdt actually tells you that how the number is changing with time, right? So say 1 day is my unit, okay, and in after every 1 day I also catch a certain number of fishes. Then in that 1 day, 3 things will happen. First, fishes will grow on their own as they are growing. Second, there will be a limitation on food, and that is why some of them might die because they are not getting any food. And third factor will come here, that is I catch 3 fishes every day, or like I catch around 20 fishes after every 7 days, something like that. So what should I have? It's a very good start to begin with. It gives me confidence that you are getting the flavor of the subject. So what we have to do, we have to take a harvesting constant, any constant that you like, and minus it from that. That's it. This is the equation. Okay?
Okay.
So what the rest of you, what do you think this about this equation? Do you understand that why this minus h term came?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So if I now change the problem definition a little bit and say that I don't catch fishes every day, but I catch only depending on how many of them are right now in the pond. So if I have like 100 fishes, I catch 20, but if I have just 10 fishes, I don't try to catch 20. I just catch 2 or 3 of them. Then how will the equation change?
P minus a certain term, h into p minus
h into p. That's it. H into p.
Yeah.
Right? Because it is proportional to the number present right now, but in a negative sense, right? You are harvesting at a constant rate is like this, but if you are harvesting proportional to p, then it will be minus h p. That's it. Okay. So think about it. Maybe this is kind of growing in a very fast speed. So I will stop here at this moment, and I will let you think of whatever we have discussed today. Okay. Think about the harvesting problem, and doing the solution or figuring out the solution is one side of it. But what I wanted to motivate today is how you relate your physical statements to some terms in your equation. Okay. So I will stop here. If you have any doubts, you can ask, and we can conclude for today then.